Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, it brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning and welcome to Story Time. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Tuesday, wherever you're joining us from today. Thank you for being here. Always a pleasure to be here with you, and absolutely appreciate you and all the love that you bring to Story Time. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to you and your loved ones and everybody else that is joining us today. Thank you indeed, and we encourage you to come back for more stories tomorrow and the day after, and indeed the day after that as well. Thank you so much for joining in, and I hope that you are having a lovely start to your day, or indeed a lovely day in general. Thank you so much for joining in, and welcome. This is Story Time for today, coming to you from Oakland, California. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're well, and indeed I hope that you're ready for today's lovely book. Indeed, one of those that just encourages conversation, and these are conversations that need to be had, especially now in this world that we're living in. There's so much happening, and I hope that this is a tool that will be kept close, somewhere near on your desk, somewhere on your library, somewhere on your bookshelf. This is one to have for sure. Teachers, any adults out there that want to have these conversations with our little ones, this is a great tool to have. MERIN and Her Very Bright Star, a story of resiliency, and this one is coming to you from Lori Mier and illustrations by Ethan ROFFLER. Thank you so much for joining in today, and always a pleasure indeed to welcome this wonderful book back to Story Time. As you know, here we love Lori Mier, and of course we love MERIN and Her Very Bright Star. So I hope that you're ready. I hope you get comfortable. I hope you get cozy so you can enjoy this lovely book and indeed learn from it as well. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time, and welcome. As always, let us know where you're joining us from, and indeed so we can say hi to you. If you're joining us from Facebook or YouTube, please leave us a message so we know you're here. We're using a third-party platform, so you'd have to type in a message for us to know that you are here, and indeed so we can say hi to you. Thank you so much for joining in, and we appreciate all the messages that come in, all the hellos, and indeed all the well wishes, and we want to definitely send that love right back to you as well in double the dose, if not. Thank you so much for joining in, and welcome MERIN and Her Very Bright Star, and this one is coming to you from Lori Mier and illustrations by Ethan ROFFLER. Thank you so much for joining in, and I hope you're ready for this wonderful story today. It is indeed a lovely Tuesday out here in Oakland. It promises to be hot. I think we're looking at about 79, 80 degrees if you're out here in Oakland. So be prepared for that. Hydrate, sunscreen, everything that you need, and be ready. And of course, how is it where you are? I hope that you're ready for that weather. You're ready for what today brings. I hope indeed you do have a minute to check in and see what the weather will be like, so you are appropriately dressed and ready to be out there. Thank you so much for joining in. A favorite book is back here on Story Time, celebrating that. And of course, remember too that this is Pride Month, and we continue to celebrate and honor that as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Please let us know where you are so we can definitely say hi to you all. This is Story Time for today. I am excited indeed to bring this one, and hopefully you are ready cozy, comfortable, have your snack ready, have everything that goes with story time ready, a cushy pillow somewhere, and of course, indeed, all that space to just read and enjoy with us. If you have the book with you at home, follow along as we read and enjoy together. Let us read together. Let us learn together. Indeed, let us exchange information. Thank you so much for being here. And most of all, let us build community right here on Storytime. Thank you so much for joining in. Let us see who is with us this morning, joining us. Thank you so much. How are you doing? Still out in St. Louis. Thank you for joining in. Nathan and Sarah in hot St. Louis. Oh, thank you so much for joining in. Isn't it though? Isn't it? Thank you so much. I agree with you 100%. A timely book indeed for these last few years that we've had. And indeed, even just the past few weeks that we've had for us personally and society at large. I am with you on that. I am with you on that, Sarah. I know, and Amanda, Sarah, and Nathan, I am with you on that. And same, just so much that we're going through. And I hope that, this book of healing and this book of love is one that today can help us just, uplift us a little bit, but also just allow us as we could to continue grappling with our grief and the many things that are happening around us. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I absolutely, hear you right there. I hear you for sure. And it's good that we're here together and we can read this wonderful book together and indeed continue to encourage each other. Thank you so much for joining in. Appreciate you, Sarah and Nathan. I hope that you're having a wonderful time out there in St. Louis. And of course, Amanda West as well. We appreciate you. And in extension, sending you love, Jamie, as well. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime. MERIN and her very bright star coming up very shortly. A story of resiliency. Lori Mier and Ethan Ruffler. Thank you so much for joining in. Get ready, get comfortable, get cozy as we get started with our story for today. But before then, we have a short break and let us have a little message from our friend. I'm
Meenal Patel, and I am an artist, designer, and the author and illustrator of Priya Dreams of Marigolds and Masala. And you are watching Storytime with Mr. Lamada.
Thank you indeed, Meenal Patel. Welcome back. And if you've not read Priya Dreams of Marigold and Masala, I encourage you to do it. Find it at your local library. It is indeed a sweet book and just one that also, just talks about that love for family and appreciation for the little things too. Whether it's a familiar smell, a familiar laugh, a familiar word, or something that just draws us to all those the ones that we love. Thank you so much for joining in, and of course a big thank you to you, Meenal Patel. Today we're reading MERIN and Her Very Bright Star, a story of resiliency. This one coming to you from Lori Mier and illustrations by Ethan Ruffler. Thank you indeed, Lori Mier, for allowing us to share this beautiful book here on Storytime and for taking us through this journey that you're going through and allowing us to be a part of that and learn from you. And indeed, hopefully that we find things that we can then apply in our own lives as well. Thank you so much for joining in. MERIN and Her Very Bright Star, a story of resiliency. Here we go. MERIN and Her Very Bright Star, a story of resiliency. Written by Lori Mier, illustrations by Ethan Ruffler. On the outskirts of a smallish town, inside a smallish grey house, MERIN is awake in her bedroom, gazing at a very bright star from her window. She is wishful under its silvery glow. She is wishful under its silvery glow. On a very serious night 6 years ago, MERIN heard herself talking to that same very bright star as though it held her mom and dad and they could hear her. "Why did you have to leave?" she asked. Her thoughts and questions were lost in the solar system. Still, her heart discovered that if she continued to speak to the very bright star, she would feel unruffled and unworried before falling asleep. Every day after, MERIN spent nighttime this way. Why did you have to leave? Her thoughts and questions were lost in the solar system. Still, her heart discovered that if she continued to speak to the very bright star, she would feel unruffled and unworried before falling asleep. Every day after, MERIN spent nighttime this way. You see, MERIN's parents are lost. They left Earth when she was 3 years old. At that age, she did not know how to miss them, and now she does not know how to remember them. Missing them is confusing and can feel like a dark and open space. It's a longish car ride to the city where she visits a person who helps people heal after they have lost something or someone. MERIN mostly listens and sketches in her book when she visits. She did trust Mrs. May with her secret, and if word got out elsewhere that she talked to a star each night, she would be laughed at. In every visit with Mrs. May, MERIN hears, "It's not your fault." And so she almost believes that all the gloomy and serious things that happen are not her fault. Every day, MERIN arms herself with a notebook, a pencil, and an open space on a page. On the very first page is a sketch of MERIN's very bright star, where she first imagined her parents were listening to her. MERIN also imagines them in daydreams during those longish car rides, when she reads Explorer magazines, when she sees others huddled under an umbrella. At dinner time, she listens for a voice that might be theirs when the other parents yell, "Come inside." During every celebration, she looks for them. Bright and beautiful things have a way of reminding her to wonder about them. The very first time she saw rainbow sherbet-colored lights dancing in the night sky. Bright and beautiful things have a way of reminding her to wonder about them. The very first time she saw rainbow sherbet-colored lights dancing in the sky was one of those. The very first crystalline trees and milky white snow of winter, shiny feathers and glittering stones for skipping, sprightly dandelion spirits, the thinking path in between the birch trees, the watchful blue heron at the edge of the lake, the inviting church bells bonging, the motherly community garden. What reminds you of your loved ones? Yes, the very first crystalline trees and milky white snow of winter, shiny feathers and glittering stones for skipping, sprightly dandelion spirits, the thinking path in between the birch trees, the watchful blue heron at the edge of the lake, the inviting church bells bonging, the motherly community garden. Mrs. May calls MERIN's notebook a bright and beautiful shield, a paper-made armor she carries to protect herself. Even so, this armor only works for so long in making the world seem less gloomy or less serious. One afternoon, MERIN went to Mrs. May's smallish group with other kids her age who have also lost someone. Just another serious situation, MERIN thought. I'm glad she has a notebook. A notebook, a bright and beautiful shield, a paper-made armor she carries to protect herself. But even so, this armor only works for so long in making the world seem less gloomy or less serious. One afternoon, MERIN went to Mrs. May's smallish group with other kids her age and who have also lost someone. Just another serious situation, MERIN thought. As she settled into her seat in the circle, she noticed Leo, the fierce, as he likes to call himself, also in the group. Oh no, someone from my neighborhood is here, she thought. MERIN pulled out her notebook and began to sketch the planet Venus. She had read earlier that week in the Explorer magazine that Venus is the brightest of all the planets in the solar system. Does anyone know what resilient means? Mrs. May asked the group. MERIN kept her head in her notebook and listened. Resilient people find ways to get through difficult losses and also believe that things will get better, said Mrs. May. MERIN's very bright star came to mind. It's better to talk to them than to feel alone, she admitted to herself. But certainly she would never say that out loud to the group. While she sketched, she thought of Leo. Leo has an open space also. Maybe that's why he is so brave. Maybe he has imagined his lost person in something such as a very bright star. As she headed out, Mrs. May pointed to the sketch and said, Venus is sometimes called the evening star because it is the brightest right after the sun goes down, and so it only appears as a very bright star. MERIN's smile met Mrs. May's. Goosebumps rose on her arms. That evening, she scanned the smallish bookshelf in the smallish gray house and put down the astronomy guidebook, grabbed a headlamp, and went to bed early. She compared the night sky in the guidebook with the stars outside her bedroom window. As it turned out, MERIN's very bright star was, in fact, Venus. For all I know, my parents are on another planet, MERIN mumbled. If only all lost people went to Venus. She stared hard at her very bright star and wished that it were true. Because if it were true, then all lost people would no longer be lost. Hers or Leo's. Tears trailed down her face. She brushed them away, grabbed her notebook, wrote Leo inside, and then tacked it under her pillow. For all I know, my parents are on another planet, MERIN mumbled. If only all lost people went to Venus. She stared hard at her very bright star and wished that it were true. Because if it were true, then all lost people would no longer be lost, hers or Leo's. Tears trailed down her face. She brushed them away, grabbed her notebook, wrote Leo inside, and then tucked it under the pillow. Afterwards, she told her parents a story about how they helped her to be resilient. And here is what became true. All the bright and beautiful things were filling her life, and she was brighter. And she was not the only person with an unknown space waiting to be filled, or wanting to be filled. The star told her that she could turn something lost into something found. And if everyone did this, the world would be brighter. Unworried, she fell asleep, as she did for many more nights than not. Afterwards, she told her parents a story about how they helped her to be resilient. And here is what became true. All the bright and beautiful things were filling her life, and she was brighter. And she was not the only person with an unknown space wanting to be filled. The star told her that she could turn something lost into something found. And if everyone did this, the world would be brighter. Unworried, she fell asleep, as she did for many more nights than not. One evening before her next birthday, MERIN and Leo sat outside a smallish grey house on the outskirts of the smallish town, listening to the echo of wailing loons as the last light of the sky turned to indigo and dim stars emerged. MERIN asked Leo if he could keep a secret, her secret, and keep it forever. What do you believe? She told him. And that is the end of our story. Thank you so much for joining in today. Always appreciate you, and just want to appreciate this book over and over and over, because it is special. MERIN and the Very Bright Star, a story of resiliency. You know, Lori Mier here has created something that is just special. And I've gone back to this book many times. And part of the thinking, too, in bringing it back around this time was just with so much that has been happening, so much loss, so much, just pain that has been happening. And I felt like this book was definitely one that would help us heal and help us, grapple with these issues as we continue. And also as parents and adults out there, help us bring these conversations and maybe begin to talk to our little ones and help them navigate through these. Because as adults, sometimes we deal with things, but then we don't know how to help our little ones. And also there's so many things that happen in here, like MERIN going to therapy. It is much needed. And please do not shame people for doing that. It is much needed. And there are many things that we ought to try as a community to make sure that everybody is helped. Everybody, can be. Everybody, you're kind of holding other people's hands as we go through all this world and these experiences together. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. I hope that this, just inspires and brings some healing, and also gives us ways to think about ways that we could find healing. So thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Please check in on your neighbors, check in on your friends. A little hello can go a long way indeed. And also just may we find those spaces, spaces that have people that understand what we're going through, or even if they don't, but indeed create a space where we can share and we can feel at peace and we can feel safe to be ourselves. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. I absolutely appreciate you. MERIN and the Very Bright Star. This one, a story of resiliency, coming to you from Lori Mier and Ethan ROFFLER. Thank you so much for joining in. I absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. And of course, a big thank you to Lori Mier today, our creator, for this wonderful book. And as you may know, that this is also based on true life events that Lori has gone through. And so you can feel the love, you can feel the pain, you can feel the healing and the efforts to find that healing that is in here, to find that community. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. I hope that you do have a wonderful rest of the day indeed. So much to be thankful for, so much to celebrate, but also remembering that life can be hard at times, and together, step by step, we help each other. Sometimes we fall, sometimes we stumble, and we still keep holding on and moving along together. Thank you so much for being here. You have been my solace this as we've been going through the pandemic, being here for story time. And I hope that in a way, we've also been able to create that community and just create a space that feels safe for everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. And we're back again tomorrow for more story time. And we know that it is Pride Month, and we know that a lot is happening in different cities, different spaces, even in communities like ours here in Oakland. So much is happening, so much evil is happening as well. And we just hope that, like people can be themselves, can just go out there and enjoy, and others don't harm them, or don't like threaten harm to others just because you don't understand, or just because you do not like what somebody is. And I feel like learning, understanding is the beginning. I hope that people can learn and begin to understand and tolerate. And I also hope that authorities continue to take necessary action against people like that. We do not want communities. We do not want people in communities that bring harm and hate. And we want to promote love. We want to accept everybody, and we want to be accepted as well. Thank you so much for joining in. Lots and lots today to just think about as this wonderful book that we just read. But tomorrow we're back and we'll be celebrating Pride. We'll be reading a wonderful book, and this one is called Mr. Watson's Chickens. You might remember it, coming back to story time for the second time. And this one is by Jarrett Dapier and Andrea Surumi. And as you may know, this is one of the books that some places have banned, some places have not allowed to be read, but we'll be reading it here on Storytime. Please do join us and enjoy this lovely book with us. And of course, let us learn. That's the only way. Knowledge is power. That's the only way that we will continue to create beautiful communities. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm glad that we were able to read these wonderful books here on Storytime, and indeed have community very early in the morning to set us off on a lovely, lovely day. Thank you so much for joining in today. Let us see one more time who is with us, and I am glad you are here. One more time, good morning to you, Sarah and Nathan. Thank you for being here. And of course, Amanda West out in hot St. Louis. I hope that you do find places to be cool. I hope indeed that it is a day for ice cream and all the good stuff. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm glad that you were here with us. And indeed, I echo your message, and I'm sure many others do as well. You say, what a timely book for the last few years. And, at a personal level for you, personal level for me, and I know personal levels for many, many people, and society at large, as you say. Thank you so much indeed for sharing and joining in today. Good morning to you, Jessica and Ali Amin. Absolutely appreciate you. Thank you for joining us out in Washington. I am glad you're here indeed. Good morning, and I hope you enjoyed that lovely story that we had for you today. And of course, I hope that you join us tomorrow for Mr. Watson's Chickens. Please do join in and have a good laugh with us. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time. Kennedy Kapolyo Kampamba, how are you doing? Oh my goodness, you are out there enjoying all the Zambian food. I hope that one day we will sit at a table and eat a meal together. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope that you are well out there in Turkey, cooking Wondwe. Yes, oh, I love that. Thank you so much for joining in, and I hope that you enjoy it. I know it's dinner time your end, so I hope that this story was good for you, a good bedtime story, one with lots of things to think about, and also, just reminding us to be thankful of the little things, and also, find ways in which we can keep the memories of those that we love alive. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time. Absolutely appreciate you. Everybody that joined in Story Time today, you make Story Time what it is, and I hope that we get to see you again tomorrow for more Story Time. And if you miss Story Time, you know where to find us on our archives on Facebook. You can also find us on the YouTube, and you can also find us at storytimewithmrlimada.com, and you can also follow us on Instagram and get to see what's happening, what's coming, and indeed read a little bit more about the upcoming books. Thank you so much for joining in Story Time today. Absolutely love it. Please do check out these books at your local libraries, and if you're able, find them, support your local bookstores, your indie bookstores, and find these wonderful books there. But of course, your libraries are there for a reason. Utilize them. If they don't have the book you want, demand that it be found. Thank you so much for joining in story time. Much love to all of you. So much going through my head today as we read this wonderful book. And indeed, myself just thinking too about, I think one of the things I appreciated and will always carry with me is, like the many weekends, many Saturday mornings spent playing Scrabble with my mom. And that's, like I still play Scrabble today and think of my mom when I do that, because it is just something that we did for such a long time, and it was a way to bond. We talked, we laughed, and I wonder how much, like she let me win, because I felt like I was winning all the time, but probably just being nice and letting me win. But yeah, it is something indeed that I appreciate, and I hope that you find those little bits of memories that you appreciate and indeed that you enjoy. And yes, our loved ones may be gone, but they are still here with us very much in spirit and in everything around us that reminds us of them, everything beautiful that reminds us of them. Thank you so much for being here on Storytime. Much love to all of you. Hugs, and I will see you again when we're back tomorrow for more Storytime. Please do send in your recommendations. We will work very hard to make sure that they come here to Storytime. Much love. Bye-bye.
Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing soon. Story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be